What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome in to the original call to post here on the network. We break down everything North American thoroughbred horse racing has to offer. It is Belmont Stakes week. And of course, with me to help break it all down is my friend and co-host, Mr. Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing well. Thank you very much for asking. And looking forward to this is it, the last jewel of the crown, but doesn't mean racing's over. It just means that season is over and you and I start preparing for Breeders' Cup and, of course, Del Mar, the summer session.
Amen. Yeah, it's we get a nice little overlap here as well because and full disclosure, there may have been some Breeders' Cup races that we talked about, but we didn't actually bring them up as qualifiers. But this week when I was putting things together, it was kind of like, oh, hey, let me just see what we have. And we do have two Breeders' Cup qualifying races that we are going to break down. Obviously, look, Belmont Stakes normally at Belmont Park, but for the last about year and a half, Belmont Park going through some, not even a renovation, a modernization. So for the last 2 years, last year and then this year, the Belmont Park card or the Belmont Stakes, all of that has been moved to Saratoga. So just a small little change there. The other change that I did notice, normally the Ogden Phipps is on the Belmont Stakes card, but that's been moved to Friday, and that's not really in our purview of, kind of getting this out and all that stuff. So I do expect next year we get back to the Ogden Phipps, which is a huge filly race, to be back onto the Belmont card. But before we get to all of that, again, I think we have 6 races to break down, of course, including the big one, the Belmont Stakes. We have to take a moment to honor and just kind of reflect on Christophe Clement, who late May did pass away at the age of 59 from uveal melanoma, is what's being reported. And I probably mispronounced it, but it is an eye cancer in the uvea of the eye. So unfortunately, Christophe Clement has passed away. And going through everything, I'm not obviously I'm very familiar with the name. But not familiar in terms of maybe pick him out of a crowd or some of the more noticeable or not jovial, but the bombastic trainers, if you will. Christophe Clement was not one of them, but I did a lot of research. And one of the things that really jumped out to me that I thought was really cool, he's over 2,000 race wins, but his first and I believe only Breeders' Cup race, both myself and Raider Jim, we were there. It was Pizza Bianca. It was the Bobby Flay owned horse. I forget who the jockey was, but I remember watching the jockey cam. It was an incredible ride, an incredible horse. So I just thought that was really cool that, the Breeders' Cup for Christophe Clement, we were there. We got to see it. But Raider Jim, your thoughts on the life and passing of Christophe Clement?
Yeah, 59 years old, not a big number by any stretch of the imagination. That is too young to be taken away, especially with the talent that he proved that he had. Learned a lot of his stuff from his dad. That's how he got started over in France, then came to the United States and trained under Shug McCoffey, renowned trainer. And then he went back to Europe, and the guy ended up, it's no surprise, but the first time he saddled up a horse from his stables, he wins. He gets into the winner's circle the very first race, and not surprising, he ended up doing that another 2,575 times, 2,576 total wins in his career. There was a stretch there. He really put his name or his stamp on the Sword Dancer Stakes, won the Sword Dancer 5 different times. And then you just look down the resume of achievements. Del Mar Oaks, the Manhattan Stakes, which we're going to talk about today, Man o' War Stakes, as you mentioned, the Breeders' Cup in 2021, when people kept saying, is that Matt Damon and the other guy? And it was me and you. but that's okay. People mistook us for them. And one thing, again, you can't overlook his achievements, but today's card at Saratoga, race 10. And it was very interesting and very emotional from somebody that I knew who was there. And race 10 was won, a $90,000 maiden special weight. Winner was the 4-horse Coach Case, ridden by Dylan Davis, trained by Miguel Clement. And it was the first race that one of the Clement stable horses was running since the passing of Christophe. And the son was all smiles and said, yeah, you know, you used the term just a minute ago, bittersweet, but he said his dad would have been proud.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, a little bit of foreshadowing. I think it's race 12 or 13. We are going to be talking. I'm just going to go through real quick. No, so it is going to be, I believe, race 12. Just doing a quick little look that we'll be talking about today. I believe we have 3 Miguel Clement racers running. So we'll get to that as well. But I did see that today, that Miguel Clement did get into the winner's circle just 2 days after his father's funeral. As I cannot even imagine everything kind of going through for the week and all that stuff. And I think one of the best parts about it is kind of how you started. It was he learned from his father, and now Miguel is going to kind of pick up the reins, you know, pun intended.
Unintended.
Yes, exactly. And get kind of, you know, maybe, who knows? I'm not familiar with Miguel and his all the status and all that stuff, but who knows? This could be a Clement family dynasty. At least I have a feeling Miguel will be very, very talented at what he does, learning a lot from his father. And it was great to see that. Again, I kind of pulled that article up as well. It's from the Pollock report, was just kind of the first one that popped up. Very, very cool there. But yeah, over 2,000 wins in Christophe Clement's career. Obviously, you know, the French influence, very, very big in the turf side of things. But did win the 2014 Belmont Stakes with Tonalist, just to kind of tie that all together. So yeah, it is unfortunate. And as you said, 59 years old, that is far too early. And you know, as always, F cancer, it is a terrible, terrible disease. But everyone here at the network, and definitely here on the original Calder Post, we send out our deepest condolences to the Clement family, and congratulations to Miguel Clement and that entire family as well, because that was more than just Miguel today. So congratulations and condolences. But with that being said, time to move on to the Belmont card. And as I kind of talked about, we got a lot to get to. I actually had to cut out a couple grade 3s. So we have 5 grade 1s and 1 grade 2, of course, including the Belmont Stakes, which will be the finale. But we are going to start at race number 6. Again, this is Saratoga. It took me a minute the other day when I was going through the DRF. Where is Belmont? What is going on? Little panic attack. So you're going to need to find Saratoga. Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know if you remember, I think it might have been last year. I was like, where's Aqueduct? And it was the big A at Bell. They do kind of weird stuff every once in a while. But anyways, Saratoga is where you're looking, and we have a big, big card to break down. We are going to start race number 6. It is the grade 2 Wonder Again Stakes for a purse of 300,000. We are going 1.16 miles on the inner turf course. This is going to be for 3-year-old fillies. Raider Jim, I'll let you get the first bite at the apple of the Wonder Again Stakes.
Yeah, you're not kidding. There's a lot of races to talk about, and there are some fantastic cards on this session. There are some races that are just wow. I can't wait to see them. But we're going to start with the Wonder Again Stakes. The Wonder Again Stakes, guess who it was named after? G1 winner, Wonder Again. This horse won $1.4 million in purse money during its career. Ended up, I think it was 7-4-4 out of 24 races. So that's fitting of getting your name out there and getting memorialized, if you will, into the race circuit. Who do I like in this one? There's 8 entries, and you've got Europe on both sides. Europe at the 1 spot, you've got your Ireland on the 8 spot, and I do like both of those hard horses. I like Al Jafra running on the rail. Now, Al Jafra has had a little bit of a slowdown lately, and that's marginal when you say slowdown. Just has not performed like he used to. But at 6-1, you've got good value there. You can't beat the combination of Lavian Pratt and Chad Brown, always winners. They're at 6-1. Like I say, they hit the winner's circle the last time out. And again, Laurelin, the Irish horse, at 5-1 on the outside. I do like that, especially from that outside position. So far, 3 for 3 this year, including the mile and the mile and 16th. So definitely likes the distance here. Definitely has showed the speed. Kendrick Carmouche is going to be the jockey. H. Graham Morton, trainer. I think that horse also is going to finish in the money. The one that I'm really intrigues me at 4.5-1 or 9-2, however you want to put it, is that 2 horse, Mayday Ready. Mayday Ready has racked up quite a lot of money in his career. What I don't like is the 181 days that he's had off since running his last race, but still, Mayday Ready comes out rested. Obviously, they feel that he's ready to go, and watch for him to make some noise. But the number 1 horse, the 1-1 right now, the morning line, is your 6 horse, Nitrogen. Nitrogen's just damn fast. I mean, what do you say about it? Winner's Circle the last time out had a nice rest period of 36. The workouts have been good. And I think, let's see, did I write down who's going to be riding that one? I did not write it down, so I don't know.
Jose Ortiz.
Jose Ortiz. I knew it was an Ortiz brother. So watch for Nitrogen. Nitrogen, definitely the one to beat, but I think you're going to see 6, 1, 8 as your top 3, but watch Mayday Ready 2 underneath.
Yeah, I think it's hard to get away from Nitrogen. Just looking at the past performances, I really like the progression of Nitrogen. You go back, this is a horse, and there are plenty of horses, multiple actually, that ran in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. Again, this is for 3-year-olds. And Nitrogen went off at pretty much 50-1. That horse finished 2.5 lengths off the lead to finish in 3rd. The only horse that finished ahead of it that's also in this race is Mayday Ready. So that I'm very big on Mayday Ready right now. My big question for Mayday Ready, and I guess Joseph Lee or Joe Lee, I'm not familiar. I don't know if he goes by Joe or Joseph. Anyways, why did this horse ship to Japan in December of last year?
Yeah.
It ran second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly at 14-1. That's a great run. Fantastic. Put a cap on a 3 or a 2-year-old season, topping off at 83. Let's see what 2025 and your 3-year-old year. Actually, let's go to Japan. Now look, it's $100 or an $800,000 stakes race. Didn't get in the money. So it's just a big question for me. I don't like that. And now, as you mentioned, Mayday Ready, long layoff since that run in Japan. You don't see that I mean, I'll be honest, it's probably the first time I've seen definitely a 2-year-old run a second race or another race after the Breeders' Cup, let alone shipping to Japan. It's that was odd to me, but everything else, I really do like this horse. But going back to Nitrogen, ran at 50-1, finished 3rd, and then has just been ran in an ungraded stakes race, got the win, got into a grade 3, got the win. Last 2 runs have been grade 2s, gotten the wins, and the buyers have continually gone up. No value here, but you have to expect Nitrogen to finish in the winner's circle. I, like you, am also very big on the 8 horse Laurelin. I think the only kind of trepidation is I would love to see this horse at 5-1. I just worry it gets sucked down to 3 or 2 to 1, and that's where I might need to get away from this horse just because I there are plenty of other value in this race, including Mayday Ready and, as you mentioned, Al Jafra as well. And one last little one, probably underneath because unfortunately this horse has pretty much lost out to every horse in this field. However, I do like Chad Brown and Joel Rosario teaming up on Virgin Colada 10 to 1. But again, is a horse that's improving, but even in its career best, still finished behind Laurelin and Opulent Resistant, which we haven't even talked about. It's 8 to 1. So just a little bit of a kind of an upset pick there with Virgin Colada. The Virgin Colada? Yeah. Just keep in mind there in the grade 2 Wonder Again Stakes. There will be more value coming up on this card. Unfortunately, I don't believe the next race is that. And that next race is, excuse me, the 8th at Saratoga. This is going to be the grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap. It is, oh, hold on. Let me just check my notes. I'm almost positive. Yes, this is a Breeders' Cup qualifier to get you to the dirt mile. So the winner gets their shipping fees and stable fees paid for when they do, if they choose to come out here to Del Mar. So this is the grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap, $1 million purse, going a mile on the dirt. One thing I do want to point out is Saratoga, a little bit of an odd turf course, or at least for the mile. It shoots you out kind of toward, like, parallel to the grandstand. They go up the kind of first turn and then they go into the backstretch. Just something to think about if you are one of those, it's kind of a funky mile going forward. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap?
I have not seen a field this fast in a long time. This is going to be quite a race, starting with the number 1 horse at even money right now. Fierceness on the rail. What a fantastic horse this is. John Velasquez, trained by Todd Pletcher. You can't get better than that. Fierceness is just consistent of late. Already has over $4 million in winnings in his career. But then you go right next door in the lane next door. Number 2, White Abarrio, always been a favorite of mine. Right now at 9 to 5, it's going to be that's going to be a race to see. Now, the last White Abarrio has just recently won the Pegasus World Cup and did so in good fashion. Going to have to bring that game in order to compete with Fierceness and get into the winner's circle. Those should be the 2 horses to watch. Kind of go past number 3 at 20 to 1, Castle Chaos. I think he's there just as kind of like a rabbit would be in a track meet. You just send them out there, give one more horse out there in the field. The 4 and 5 horses are nothing to sneeze at. Either one of them could probably make a run for it. The 4 horse is just a touch. This horse has speed. Can it keep up with the likes of Fierceness and White Abarrio? I am not sure of that. And same with Raging Torrent, the 5 horse. Thing is, they have okay value. They're the best value you're going to find as far as really making a shot at getting in the money. Just a Touch is at 4 to 1. And on the outside, that 5 horse Raging Torrent is 5 to 1. Note, Raging Torrent, one of the owners, was a guest on First Off the Bench, original Call to Post. Mr. Craig Dato is one of those owners. And so kind of cool. I thought about trying to reach him and see, just give us a comment on Raging Torrent and how you think you're going to do. And I just didn't get around to it. But good luck to Craig. And, let's see where he ends up on Saturday. Have a feeling.
Yeah, this, as you mentioned, the speed in this race it's mind-boggling. And as you mentioned, Castle Chaos, best of luck, and I wish the best for you, but I do kind of think this might be a little bit of purse hunting, hoping for a 3rd place finish. it's between the first two horses, with all due respect to everyone else. I mean, these two might be the favorites if the classic were to be going off today. I'm sure there's some 3-year-olds that'll be running a little bit later in the day on Saturday that would like to maybe step in there. But in terms of the 4-year-olds and up, I think Fierceness and White Abarrio are the two best, at least in North America. So that is maybe a little early showdown. And these two horses have never locked horns. So two horses that I think are at the top of their game. White Abarrio, little older at 6 years old. Fierceness, 4 years old, having a great 3-year-old season. Even last year, just finishing a length and a half off of Sierra Leone in the Classic. An incredible run. It's going to be very fast. My big question will be who gets on the lead and if that maybe comes into play down the line, because both of these horses want to get on the lead. It's a small field. They're both on the rail. Do these two maybe race each other a little too hard early on? And maybe we sneak our way and find some value, as you said, in the 4 and the 5. The 5 is now the fact that Craig Dato, and thank you so much for bringing that up. I very rarely kind of check out the owners, just because, I don't, most of it's Qatar racing or, Blood Horse or, whatever. But I had Raging Torrent as kind of my best of the rest. And I was leaning a little bit more towards Just a Touch, but Craig Dato's name being on Raging Torrent, I really like that. Cheering for him. I had a great interview a few years back. I love the run in April at Maiden in the Godolphin Mile. And this is a horse that ran very, very well. Of course, is a time form of 119, but that is very competitive with some of the big boys in this race. My big question, though, that was the first race that horse ran at a mile. Is the odd layout, again, like I am kind of sometimes one of those people where, we see a race that on a really big course that is a mile, but it's only one turn. I do think that does factor into it. Technically, this is still 2 turns, but it's like 1.5 turns. Again, I hate to keep, kind of harking on that, but I do wonder, just because this horse doesn't run at a mile a ton, does that factor in? But I do really like Raging Torrent on the outside to, who knows, maybe pick up the pieces late. But I would not be surprised to see Raging Torrent actually be on the lead when they turn for home, just because that's where this horse wants to be. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the best strategy to beat either Fierceness or White Abarrio. But this horse has so much early speed, not a lot of late speed. I think it might be its only way. It's going to come down to Fierceness and White Abarrio, in my opinion. So this is one for me personally. I'm just kind of, I'll just sit back and watch, because the show payout might pay out more than the exacta if you get White Abarrio and Fierceness in there. So
just to add to add to what you were saying about Raging Torrent, when you look at the DRF, who's coming out of the gate, who's going to lead it out of the gate, if you line up these 5 horses, the way that they presented it on DRF was Raging Torrent is actually the one that's going to break. Yeah. And Raging Torrent will be first, and then it's followed by Just a Touch. Then you go down to White Abarrio, Fierceness, and then Castle Chaos, bringing up the end. But yeah, they said Raging Torrent is real fast out of the gate. Look for Raging Torrent to take that early lead. And you're right. If depending on how he's ridden, stranger things have happened. You and I have seen it. So we'll keep our good wishes and cross our fingers for Craig and see what happens.
Yeah, we're all pulling for you, with or without a ticket in our hand, and that's saying a lot. So moving on to the other Breeders' Cup. And that would be a nice little tie-in. Raging Torrent getting the everything paid for Craig Dato to come back out to Del Mar. I'm sure he would love that. Anyways, the other Breeders' Cup qualifier is race number 9 at Saratoga. It is the Grade 1 Hyper Invitational. It is going to get you into the Turf Sprint on Breeders' Cup Saturday. This has a purse of 500,000, and we are going 5.5 furlongs on the turf, the outer turf course, or the melon turf course, but also the outer turf course. But I do just want to say one thing, and I just want to pull up here it is right here. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Raider Jim, and then I want you to get your thoughts on this race. But I don't know if when you were going through this, the 10-horse Coppola. I don't know if you noticed, but if you look at this horse's last 3 races, this horse ran on April 8th, it ran May 3rd, and it ran May 17th. And it will run June 7th. That will be 4 races in 2 months. And I know this is a sprint horse, but that seems a bit much. That was something that jumped out to me. And again, I'm not, Dale Romans and the connections and all that stuff. They're dialed in, and I'm not, I'm just kind of asking questions here. It seems a bit like a lot in a 2-month span. And if you look at the numbers, the last time this horse ran in an ungraded stakes race, it dropped from 90 all the way down to 77. But Raider Jim, I'd just like to get your thoughts there and your thoughts on the Hyper overall.
Yeah, I kind of see it the same way. You look at what this go back to, it won't even be 2 months. If you go back to April 8th, it ran April 8th at Keeneland. It ran, as you said, Churchill Downs May 3rd, and again at Pimlico on the 17th. And not just ran, it was in a listed stakes on the 17th. And then it was in 2 grade 2 races prior to that. And now it's here. That is really, to me, it's a lot of stress on that horse. You're asking a lot of that horse, especially, no disrespect to any of the trainers, jockeys, or the horse itself, but you have to go back to January 25th, last time that horse saw the winner's circle.
Yeah.
And that was in a limited listed stakes race. And then after that, 5th, 6th, 4th. I don't know if it was necessary to put this horse in the race, but for some reason they decided they wanted to see how he was going to perform. But no, I don't think you're wrong at all.
Okay. And your thoughts on the Hyper?
And what do I think about the race itself? Well, let me start with the fact it's named after the 3-year-old champion Hyper from back in 1962. It's been a very good race, year in, year out. 22 and 23 back-to-back wins for Casa Creed. Won the race 2 times in a row, as did in 2017 and 18 Disco Partners. So there's some of the trivia that I just can't resist, but I have to instill it every time that you give me a microphone and say something worthwhile. I'm pulling up the list now. I want to make sure I have it in front of me. This is a bigger field, 10 horses, and it's not an easy field either. The easiest part about it is the horse that is going to probably end up in the winner's circle is going to make you no money because it's number 2. Think Big, already at 6-5, and that's not going to get any better, folks. I hate to tell you. I wanted to like the 5 horse, Arzak, but I can't based on the last couple races that I looked at. I just don't know. At 8-1, it's got good value. I just don't think Arzak is racing at a plateau where he's going to make a race of it or challenge. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just me. AG Bullet, the 9 horse, I've always liked, and I'm going to like that horse again. I like the 9 horse a lot. AG Bullet, 7-2 right now, so that's not bad. It's not great. I do like Our Shop, the 3 horse at 8-1. Not a bad horse. I think we're going to see a good competition out of that. This is going to be a real 3 or 4 horse race, though. And the 4 horses are going to be 2 Think Big, 3 Our Shot, Arzak might surprise me, but I don't see Arzak as being that third horse. But I think AG Bullet will be in there. Alagon also, the 8 horse at 10-1. There's your best value. Could get an upset, could get in there. Grab the place, grab the show. Definitely will not grab the winner circle.
Yeah, this is very, very kind of different than the first two races we talked about. Now we do have a clear favorite, but I don't think it's as obvious. I do expect Think Big. Think Big is at the top of my ticket and kind of what I would expect. But as you mentioned, 6-5 morning line probably will drop below even money by the time the bell rings. So that's interesting. But the I think the big overarching storyline for this race, it's kind of what you mentioned with the 5 horse Arzak and the trending. I think all of these horses are trending downwards except for Think Big.
Right.
And it's an interesting field because again, it's not like the race we just talked about where, oh, we're going to see some Breeders' Cup Classic runners here. Obviously, these are turf horses, so that wouldn't be happening anyway, but I don't know. I think Big definitely the favorite, but the one underneath that I think actually has the most value out of anyone is the 4 horse, My Boy Prince. I really like what's kind of clicked with this horse now that they've put this horse on the turf. Now, the dialing back in distance is a bit of a concern, but if you look at the PPs, you can kind of understand the thinking. The first time this horse went on to turf, it was running at a mile, ran in the Woodbine mile, and ran very well. A 93, dropped down, big time into a 78, running at the same distance. Went up to a mile and a 16th, then ran an 87, and then they dialed it back to 6 furlongs, and this horse ran a career best 95. So I think they figured out, okay, this is a turf horse, and now they've figured out, okay, this is a turf sprint horse. And again, with the other horses beside Think Big that are kind of trending downward in my direction, or in my view, My Boy Prince maybe not in the same level as quickly as Think Big is trending upward. I do think My Boy Prince is. And again, I think they figured out this horse is a turf sprint horse. Let's lean into it. 10-1. I really like the value there. And then some others, again, Alagon, as you mentioned, love the value and I love the consistency. The interesting part of this is a lot of jockey changes on this horse. We've seen a couple from Irad, or one from Irad Ortiz, a couple others, and then now it's Jose Ortiz. So I don't know, something to keep an eye on. You don't see that a ton, but I really do like the value of Olagon. AG Bullet, I think the price is a little too short for me. I would really like to, be a fly on the wall for, Richard Baltus and their connections. It took a little while for this horse to be figured out to be a sprint horse. And I say that with a question mark because I don't even know if they want this horse to be a sprint horse. Last 6 races, I'm just going to go distances. 1 mile, 6.5 furlongs, 1 mile, 5 furlongs, 1 mile, 5.5 furlongs. So this is the first time AG Bullet has ran back-to-back sprint races. Again, it's just odd. And as I think you mentioned, but AG Bullet was really not good as a small or a very short money favorite back at Churchill in its season debut. Did not run well. So I don't know. I think 7-2 is too short of a number for me. But again, where's other value? My last little upset pick is going to be the 7 horse Bold Journey. 20-1. This is a veteran dirt horse that has regressed on the dirt side, but was running at a pretty high level. They put this horse back on the turf and ran very, very well back in May at 22-1, finished second in between My Boy Prince and Alagon. I think Bold Journey's worth a look. Maybe not the easiest field to deal with, but at 20-1, certainly worth a look when you are needing to find value, and that's what you need to do in this race. Unless you have a big wallet to go with Think Big. So that's probably the only way you make some money off of the 2-horse. But moving on to race number 11. This is going to be the Grade 1 Woody Stevens Stakes. $500,000 purse. This is for 3-year-olds and up. We are going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Grade 1 Woody Stevens Stakes?
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound critical here, but we had a race where we had White Abarrio and Fierceness and horses of that caliber. And if I look at the 8 entries or the 11 entries in this race, you kind of just look at it and go, huh, really? I mean, there is no real clear, watch out for this horse, it's going to wire. It's actually one of the more difficult races for me to look at this week and say, there's my clear number 1 pick. However, I'm going to go out on the limb here, and I do have a number 1 pick, and it's going to be the 5-horse Citizen Bull. Probably letting a little bit of my personal, likes of jockeys and trainers and things like that. But Mike Smith is riding Citizen Bull. Now, Citizen Bull last year was one heck of a horse. Back in November, was here at Del Mar, won the FanDuel Breeder Classic. This horse can run. However, since January of this year, Citizen Bull's been a little bit off, but what I read about it in Horse Racing Nation or one of those, back on track, no pun intended. But the last time out, look at it, came in 15th. And I remember watching that race going, no, can't be. I watched it, and it was kind of like as the tail was flying in the wind, I was watching my money fly out of the tail, and it was one of those races. But I think they will put it together and have a good race on Saturday. 4-horse was getting a lot of attention from people, Patch Adams, but quite honestly, I've seen nothing but, it's stepping back a bit. It's not performing. It's not living up to the hype, if you will. So I'm not sure that I would even put Patch Adams on my ticket. But again, these 11 horses, it's hard to say you've got a clear winner. Chance McPatrick, the 10-horse, 4-1, it's not a bad number. But at the same time, when I look at what Chancer Patrick has been doing, I don't see it coming out and winning this one. Colloquial is probably the one that I think could finish 1 and 2 with Citizen Bull. Colloquial is a pretty good horse, and it's 6-1, good value. Citizen Bull 5-1, good value. And then if genetics pull through, you've got the 8-horse Gunmetal. Kind of hard to go against somebody whose dad was named Gunrunner. And I think this horse at 8-1, you couldn't ask for better value on it. Got the winner's circle the last time out. But again, this field, I don't know. I'm curious to see how you're going to call it, because Macho Music's out there, the 3-horse at 8-1. Even then, not enough for me to say, I'll put you on my ticket.
Yeah, this is, again, as you kind of mentioned, it's you don't want to be too critical or anything like that. Now, it is a 3-year-old only race, so that kind of the Fierceness White Abarrio race was, I believe, 3-year-olds and up. So it does kind of open things up for, but this is kind of like the second, maybe third or even 4th tier horses at the 3-year-old level right now. Maybe the horses that in January, I mean, especially Citizen Bull, even Chancer McPatrick, hey, if things go right, we could have a good Triple Crown season. Obviously, we did see a couple of these horses run in the Derby. But the one that jumped out to me is very similar to you, is that 5-horse. As I put, I'm not ready to quit this horse. And yes, I'm having Midnight Bourbon flashbacks. I get it. But look, this horse came out of nowhere last year, 16-1, to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And it's very rare that we do see a Breeders' Cup Juvenile go on and have a 3-year-old season, especially early to remember. And you do look at the past performances of the past 5 races, that 59 definitely does stick out last time out. However, again, it was the Kentucky Derby. And if there's one race that I'm going to just give you a pass on, it is the Kentucky Derby. So many things. It's the biggest race for that horse, more than likely in its life, that it's ever going to have to deal with in terms of the people and the stimulation. You got 20 horses. It's just everything needs to go right just for you to run a good race. And it didn't run well. It didn't break well. And if you don't break well in the Derby, it's probably over. And at that point, the jockey's just going to kind of pull you back. And as you mentioned, Mike Smith aboard, Bob Baffert, Mike Smith. I mean, they are the Southern California, representation going to Saratoga for us all. So I really do like Citizen Bull. 5-1. I mean, why not? I think there's plenty of value there. I do like Patch Adams, and a big reason why is because of the distance. 7 furlongs. The last time this horse ran at 7 furlongs, it broke its maiden. Yeah, it was last November, but still 7 furlongs. Ran a career best 98. Brad Cox, Luis Saez, 5-1. I like those numbers. If it starts to drop, that's where maybe I'm getting out and going to find somewhere else to put my money. And that's where I think Chancer McPatrick. Look, this is the horse. I genuinely believe this horse is going to flip a switch. This horse cost pretty much $750,000 at the yearling sales. It was 2-1 in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It was pretty much unbeatable going into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and yeah, didn't run very well. But again, I think you can also look at it. That was the biggest race at the time for Chancer McPatrick in terms of the stimulation and all the people. And this year has not really gone to plan either. It's been a slow improvement. I don't think it's been as quick as they want. I think this is when it happens. And it's a lot because what you kind of talked about, and I kind of talked about when starting to talk about this race. This isn't the best of the best at the 3-year-old level. I think Chancer McPatrick, just on everything I've seen, I think it's the best here. But I've said that so many times about this horse, and it hasn't gotten into the winner's circle. My kind of upset pick here is the 9 horse, Neoquios. Good value here. Ran okay in the Derby, but look, at 43-1 and it finished 13th. Hey, that's kind of a win in this view here. And I think this is a perfect kind of spot for this horse to be in. I don't think it's good enough to get into the winner's circle. I think 10-1, it's going to probably balloon a little bit. Safi Joseph will have this horse ready to roll. You got Jose Ortiz aboard. I don't know. Again, 10-1, maybe we get that closer to 14 or even 16-1. I like the value of Neoquos there. And again, it's a lot of horses that I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the winner's circle. But they've just, which we got to be honest, all of these horses have underperformed in their 3-year-old seasons. But still, to win the Woody Stevens and take a grade 1 win, I think all of these horses would really like to start their summer season off, or their summer session off, with a big grade 1 win. And I think it's a very winnable race for all of the horses that we talked about here. So moving on to our second to last race we will be talking about. It is on the Mellon turf course, the outer turf course. It is the grade 1 Manhattan Stakes, going 1 mile and 3/16 on that turf course. Purse of a cool $1 million. This is for 4-year-olds and up. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the grade 1 Manhattan?
Yeah, you know, when we hit the Belmont Stakes, of course, we had the Preakness, and of course, you lead into everything with the Triple Crown with the Kentucky Derby. Along with those three races, you've got some real caliber, long tenured, long historical races. They're some of the most prestigious races in horse racing outside of the Triple Crown. I actually had a note and I wanted to make one of those was the Hillendale Metro Handicap. The Hillendale Handicap is one of them, and the one we're going to talk about right now, the Manhattan, that's another one. First time it was run was in 1867. And the Jerome Park Racetrack, which no longer exists, in 1897, they did not hold the race, as they did not hold the race in 1907 to 2000 or till 1913. There was just a gap there. They didn't run it. But you go back to 1867, this is a historical race. This is a pretty good field right here with these 9 horses. There is a morning line favorite right now, and that is the 6 horse Spirit of St. Louis, but that's not my favorite. My favorite is going to be running out of the outside on the 9 spot, Bridge. Let me tell you that this horse is amazing. You go back to its last 5 races, did run in the Breeders' Cup and did not run well. Actually, I think came in last in the pack maybe on the Breeders' Cup race. But you go to the 4 races before and after that, you've got winner circle for a G2, a G3, a G1, a G1. This horse is made for the big money and the big stakes races like this. Look for Farbridge at 3-1. It's not the best value, but you're probably going to cash in with that. I do like Spirit of St. Louis. I just don't think Spirit of St. Louis is going to win this one. Also like Integration. Integration is going to, I think, put in a real good performance out there. And if I'm not mistaken, I got to pull this up real quick. Excuse me while I hit click. Yes, indeed. How about that? Who's riding that horse? Flavian Pratt. Anytime you put Flavian Pratt on a horse, I'm going to give it a look. Claude McCoffey the third is the trainer on this horse. You got a good combination there. Has only gotten 2 places out of 3 starts this year. But that could change, and it could very well change this coming Saturday. I'm going to go back to the lineup. Here we go. So I had Farbridge. I have Spirit of St. Louis. I have Integration. The other one I like out there, and this is a real iffy call, but the 5 horse Deterministic. Deterministic, decent speed, winner circle the last time out, little inconsistent. But still, I think has what it takes to at least finish in the money.
Yeah, and this is kind of aforementioned. You mentioned Farbridge and Deterministic. Those are both going to be Miguel Clement trained horses. So I had both of them down. Not just for like the I don't want to say fairy tale or like movie script, but these are 2 very good horses. I actually do have Spirit of St. Louis at the top of my ticket. However, you do have to recognize your biases, and Spirit of St. Louis did make me a good amount in that Turf Classic, which we talked about. I want to say when we were talking about the Derby, I think that was on Derby Day, actually. Or no, maybe it was after I'm not sure. It's been a long day. Anyways, but we did talk about Spirit of St. Louis earlier this year, and it got me in that winner's circle. I really do like this horse. I also do like the late speed that this horse does kind of bring to the table. I also do like Deterministic. I think this is a horse probably underneath Farbridge and St. Louis. We'll get to Farbridge in a moment. But very, very good for Deterministic last time out. Little bit of an outlier. It seemed like would have been Christophe Clement back in April. Maybe said, "Hey, let's see how this horse runs on the dirt," and ran okay, but finished second in an allowance as the favorite. And they said, "No, let's put this horse back on the turf." And as you mentioned, went out and got the job done in the Fort Marcia, running in 98, beating out Carson Run, who's also in this race as well. So Deterministic, definitely going to make it onto my card. But Farbridge is the other horse that probably is going to be the only one that might unseat Spirit of St. Louis for the top of my ticket. I really do like Farbridge. Obviously, Joel Rosario there And I really also like the post position here. It's going to be a stalker, so it doesn't have to get on the lead early. Only 9 horses, so not a huge, wouldn't be a huge amount to cover to get onto the rail. But I think Farbridge, Joel Rosario, they're going to be perfectly fine, just kind of sitting, chilling, stalking, and getting that late speed. Do not be worried if you see Farbridge kind of back of the pack halfway through this race. But those are the 3 that really do jump out to me. I really wanted to kind of give Carson's run some shine, but again, I think a lot of it was me leaning into the fact that it's, Miguel Clement and things like that. And as much as I'm cheering for him, I don't want to give, gambling picks on, how cool it would be if it would happen. It's not really what we're in the business of doing here, but a good field, even Highway Robber and Integration as well, almost made it onto my ticket. Highway Robber, look, just wasn't good enough to beat Spirit of St. Louis 2 months ago. Actually just a month ago. So I don't really see anything that would change that. And Integration, really, really good horse as well. I just think Farbridge and Spirit of St. Louis, I think those 2 are going to take control of this one. But the Manhattan Stakes, $1 million. Oof, a lot of money being passed out today. And that is a perfect segue into the biggest money that will be handed out on Saturday. It is the final jewel of the Triple Crown. It is the Grade 1 Belmont Stakes, going 1.25 miles on the Saratoga dirt. This is going to be for 3-year-olds and up, $2 million. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Grade 1 Belmont Stakes?
Yeah, sometimes you look at a field and you say, yeah, this one lives up to the hype, or sometimes you look and you say, what's all the talk about? There is a lot to talk about in this race. I'm going to go ahead and tell you the horses that I, again, with no disrespect to trainers, owners, or athletes, the horses that I will not consider. I will not consider Hill Road, the 1 horse. The 4 horse Uncaged is at 30-1 right now, and I think is just in there to get some experience at a high level, which is fine. Number 8 on the outside, Heart of Honor at 30-1. There's a reason it's 30-1. Again, get some experience, run against some high caliber. There's a horse that's getting a lot of chatter from a lot of people, from Daily Racing Form to Horse Racing Nation, and I believe even Blood Horse Nation. I saw something. The 5 horse Crudo, but at 15-1, as good as this horse is, and it's a decent horse, it's not good enough to make a dent in this field. It's not going to go and shake anybody up. So now we're down to 4 horses, aren't we? Yes, we are. We're down to the number 2 horse, Sovereignty, 2-1. We all know what Sovereignty can do. We're down to the 7 horse at 8-5, the early morning favorite, Journalism. Journalism at 8-5. Okay, but here's the horse that's going to win, and that's the 6 horse, Baeza. And I'm telling you, came in 3rd in the Kentucky Derby, and there's a reason that horse came in 3rd. Keep in mind, folks, you're running 20 horses out there. And then Flavian Pratt probably didn't hit the gas soon enough, but when he did hit the gas coming down the home stretch, he took Baeza from way back. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, he just missed pulling an upset. He's not going to do that this time around. He's only got 7 other horses to worry about. He's in a good spot in the 6th lane, and I think Baeza, with blazing speed, is going to come out there and win this race. The other horse that I would like to see do well, my concern is, how healthy is he? And that's the 3 horse Rodriguez. Because of a whole out dirty, they said, no, we're not going to put him into the Preakness. We're going to save him, let him run Belmont. So he's going to run the Belmont. So the questions in the air are, how good is his hoof right now? Baffert's not going to put a horse out there, and Mike Smith's not going to get on a horse that they think might not be 100% ready to go. If Rodriguez is ready to go and gets a good break out of the gate, watch out, because that horse also has some good speed. So you're down to Baeza, Rodriguez, Sovereignty, and Journalism. I think journalism gets the nod. And it's a shame that one of those horses has to be left out of the money. I think it's going to be Sovereignty gets left out.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I got 3 horses on my card, and Sovereignty is not one of them. Great horse, don't get me wrong. I like the Derby run, but 2 to 1, I just think there's so much more value and better horses out there. And it took us 6 races, but the people that will say we copy each other's homework, here comes your ability to point to this episode. Here it is. I have Baeza as my top of the ticket horse as well. I personally think this horse is undervalued because, again, these horses and this horse race, we see it in the Triple Crown. I don't want to call it stupid money because at the end of the day, horse racing, you can be as smart as you want. You're still probably going to lose. Some of the best still only hit it out 30% for this. I really do think that Baeza is sneaking along. Everyone's focused on, oh, will it be journalism or will it be Sovereignty? Because that's what we get in modern sports or major sports in this country. It's one or the other. Well, horse racing, that's not the case. But I think everyone wants to make it about journalism versus Sovereignty. Oh, we finally get to see them race. Well, we've seen Baeza run, and as you kind of mentioned, finished just outside behind both of those 2 horses. And I think this is where Baeza does take that next step. All focus will be on journalism and Sovereignty. I think Baeza, hopefully we get that number closer to 5 or 6 to 1. So hopefully, I mean, as much as I want people to listen to this, maybe not this part of it. But anyways, Baeza, I really, really like this horse. And I think it takes the next step, gets into the winner's circle. My number 2 horse obviously has to be journalism. Still haven't gotten over that incredible run in the Preakness. Probably the best horse in the field, but at 8 to 5, and more than likely going to get closer to even money. Probably not going to make it on to the top of my card just because of value sake. But I would love to see Umberto Rispoli get another Triple Crown win. And I think whichever horse does win is going to be eyeing the Classic. And my final horse, that will be my upset pick, as you mentioned, Rodriguez. Again, it's the West Coast contingent, Bob Baffert, Mike Smith. And the concern with the hoof is definitely real, but I also really do. I would not feel this confident or at least feel this good about this horse if the horse ran in the Preakness. In a weird sort of way, I actually think that Baffert feels better about this horse and says, no, you know what? We're going for the Belmont because he actually thinks this horse can win this race. And I don't quite remember what the odds were for Rodriguez, or at least when we talked, because I do remember Rodriguez, I don't think was scratched when we talked about the Derby. And I want to say you had talked about Rodriguez as a possible upset pick. I don't remember the exact number. But this was a horse that was a contender for a lot of people in the Derby. And maybe just because we haven't seen him in 2 months, people are kind of doubting him. I think there's a lot of value there. So, yeah, I really, really think Rodriguez and Baeza, and those are going to be the 2, and not just the West Coast bias, but I think those are going to be 2 of the better horses going forward in this race. Obviously, journalism, it's going to be a very good horse as well. Sovereignty as well. 4 of maybe the best 3-year-olds in the world going at it.
Absolutely.
Just can't wait to see how it all shakes out. But that is all we have for you on this episode. Time for our final thoughts as we wrap things up. Raider Jim, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Like I say, it's the last race of the Triple Crown season with a couple other very, very prestigious races thrown in. So bet smart, enjoy the race card on Saturday, and get ready because now we can really start again Next time you see us, we'll start not just giving a recap of what takes place this coming Saturday. We'll start talking Del Mar, what to expect. The end of the Santa Anita season's coming up. And then, of course, Breeders' Cup is already off and going, and we got the Challenge Series in progress.
Yes, it goes by very quick. It seems like, oh, we got all the way till November to get ready for the Breeders' Cup, and then you blink and we're like, uh-oh, we got to figure out how we're going to do NFL and Breeders' Cup in that same week, and it'll be that November time before you know it. But I do want to take a moment. Obviously, we are recording June 4th. And if you're someone my age or you're a sports fan, more than likely you watched the show, or at least I think it was a segment. It might have turned into a show. I'm not 100%. On ESPN, Sports Science. It was just kind of a different way of looking at sports, of how much PSI a football player hits you with compared to a crocodile biting on your arm. Just a different way to look at sports. It was hosted by a gentleman named John Brenkus, and it was, it was kind of his baby. Unfortunately, this past weekend he did pass away, and the way it was described, said, lost the battle with depression, which I think we can all kind of put one, two and two together, without actually saying the word, what that means. And, reason why, obviously, I did, want to bring him up because, again, that was very instrumental. There were a lot of sports sciences that, I remember. But also it is June, and there are months for everything. I get that. But it is Men's Mental Health Month. And just kind of tie both of those in, that, hey, you know what? It's a great time to check in, make sure everyone in your life is doing well. And I always tell people, ask a second time, look them really in the eye, and really kind of ask them, how is everything? Really kind of let them know that you're not just there for the cookie cutter answer if they got something else behind there. So just something to think about as we do dive into June. But yeah, I wanted to bring up Mr. Brinkus, and thoughts and condolences going out to friends and family there during this very, very tough time. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the original Call to Post here on the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It is time for y'all to stop hating. Or no, I'm sorry. It's time for y'all to go wash your hands and stop hating, everyone. Talk to y'all very soon. Take care.